Hello, my friends, and welcome to our fourth adult Sunday school lesson of the summer as we study why we need the Bible. I'm Paul Brooks, the adult Sunday school teacher for the North Greensboro Church of God. In this video, I discuss with you the daily Bible readings that accompany summer lesson number 4. Lesson number 4 is entitled, The Bible Speaks to Families, with the message that God created the family and provides direction for it through the Bible. Now, the scriptures that we'll study in this lesson this week are from Genesis, Deuteronomy, and Ephesians. Our daily Bible readings are from the Old and New Testament and support this lesson and the scriptures we're studying this week. This week's daily readings reveal how to receive and how to give biblical instruction for the family. Now, we began our daily Bible readings on Monday with Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 8. This passage stresses the importance of the Word in the home. Verse 7 specifically commands parents to teach the Word to our children. Our scriptural commentary and our quarterly advises us that this instruction is to be given without ceasing in all of our ordinary activities of the family. On Tuesday, we read a passage from Judges chapter 2, verses 8 to 14. In this passage, we read of the consequences of not teaching the children about God. A generation of Israel did not hear instruction from the Word and did not know God personally. They committed sins of idolatry and came under God's judgment. In verse 14, we see that because they were not with God, God stood against them. Now, we should understand that knowing God must be passed from generation to generation. Wednesday, we read from Proverbs chapter 1, verses 7 to 10. And we read here about the value of parental counseling. With the beginning of verse 7, we see that knowledge begins with, or comes after, a fear or a reverence of the Lord. In verse 8, we read that children are to hear and obey their parents. Solomon tells us in verse 9 that parental instruction is to be valued like treasure. He likened it to fine jewelry. He also tells us in verse 10 not to follow sinners who will entice us. Now today, Thursday, we'll read a New Testament passage from the book of Acts, chapter 16, verses 25 to 34. And in today's passage, we read one of the great stories in this chapter where Paul and Silas have been beaten and chained in prison, but they're freed by God through an earthquake. The keeper of the prison is led to convert by Paul and Silas, and then his whole house, following his example, is saved as well. Now, we know that God desires to see fathers, mothers, and their whole families saved. Now, tomorrow on Friday, we'll read a passage from Colossians chapter 3, verses 18 to 21. And in that, we learn that every member of the family has a responsibility. Verse 18 tells of the wife's responsibility to her husband, but verse 19 tells of the husband's responsibility to his wife. Verse 20 tells of the children's responsibility to their parents, and then finally verse 21 speaks to the fathers again, advising them not to provoke the children. Now, each member fulfilling their responsibility makes for a strong Christian family. And then finally on Saturday, we'll read our last passage, and it's from 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 1 to 5. In this passage, we learn that God is pleased when our faith in Him is passed on to the generations. Paul, writing to Timothy, recalls in verse 5 that Timothy's genuine and sincere faith was passed on to him from his mother and grandmother. And we should endeavor as parents to pass our faith on to our children and grandchildren. Well, the takeaway is pretty simple. God's revealed His will for the family in His scriptures. The scriptures speak to us all about our responsibilities as members of the family. The major takeaways this week are the same as last week, and it is really simple. God speaks to the family through His Word, where He reveals His will to us. Now, what do we do with this realization? It's just as simple. We listen and we obey. Now, the result will be a strong and healthy Christian family. So thank you for continuing this study with us here at North Greensboro Church of God this summer about why we need the Bible. I hope that the daily Bible readings from God's Word, along with the observations I've prepared and shared with you in this video, will help your understanding of the message for this week. And that message is this: God created the family and provides direction for it through the Bible. Now, I'll be posting another video later this weekend to provide additional context and background for your study of this lesson. So thank you for viewing this video. I pray for you and your family's safety and for God's blessings upon you.